Hi everybody, welcome back to the yoga edition of Healthy at Home with the Bullitt County Public Library System and me, Christy with Empirical Yoga. Today I thought we would focus on twisting yoga poses. Twists during yoga are really good for digestion because they tend to kind of compress the internal organs, get everything moving around, and really help to aid in processing all of that food that I'm sure a lot of us have been taking in just a little bit more of now that we've been at home and able to graze a little bit easier. So if you've noticed that your digestion has changed at all simply because you've had maybe a little bit of a change in diet, these poses are going to be really good to help get everything working exactly the way that it should be to help process all of that extra income you've brought into your digestive life. So if you want to just find yourself in a gentle seated position, we're going to be working through a lot of abdominal twists, but for the most part, you're going to have the ability to make those gentle or go a little deeper if you would like. If anyone is expecting and practicing at home, I will say that for the majority of prenatal yoga, these particular poses are not recommended. You can still do spinal twists, but the poses that are recommended during prenatal yoga are to have kind of a twist that opens up the belly as opposed to compressing it. So all of the ones that are really good for digestion, because they compress the internal organs, are not something that you want to be doing if you do happen to have a little one inside your stomach. Definitely make sure that you're practicing mindfully, and the same for everyone, honestly. If you're practicing at home, make sure that you're aware of your own boundaries, any kind of health concerns that you need to be restricting yourself to certain poses, making sure that you're doing your research prior to joining us on the mat. That being said, if you're ready to go, find yourself in that gentle seated position and just close the eyes or find a soft spot on the floor in front of you if it's uncomfortable to close the eyes all of the way. And just find a gazing point. And whether your eyes are closed or you're softly gazing at the floor in front of you, just start to draw the shoulders back and down away from the ears. And start to draw awareness to the breath. Focusing on how long you can make each breath, both the inhalation and exhalation. So starting off, taking in as deep of a breath as you can. And then exhaling for at least that long. Breathing comfortably, taking in more refreshing air when you're ready to. Maybe you grow tall through the spine as you breathe in. You feel the body start to lift up and out of your seat. The spine starts to stretch out. The neck grows long. Almost as if you have a little string tied to the top of your head and it's just pulling you all the way up. As you're breathing out, feel those core muscles strengthen. Feel the use of those core muscles to kind of push that air back up and out through the lungs, through the throat, through the nose or mouth. And once you've gotten comfortable with changing from our normal shallow deep belly breath, I want you to start to think about making your exhalation twice as long as your inhalation. So if you notice that you're able to breathe in to a count of 2 or 3 or 4, as you breathe out, slow it down even more, counting to maybe 4 or 6 or 8 as you breathe out. Nice, slow, calm, and controlled breathing. And as you breathe, every time you exhale, just let those shoulders sink down a little bit farther, releasing and relaxing all of those tight muscles, letting go of any tension in the body, any tension in the mind, any tight thoughts that you've been holding on to, something that maybe you've been ruminating on. Maybe it's causing you some anxiety. Allow this time on your mat to be a separation, a time where can pick everything else back up when you get done, but for right now, just allow your mind to start to clear. Doing so with no judgment, as you sit here and breathe those nice, long, deep breaths in, and even longer breaths out. We have that tight, distressing thought creep back in. Don't beat yourself up about it. We all have lots going on in our minds right now. Just recognize that thought. Let it know you'll pick it back up later and set it aside. And then draw your focus back to your breath. Now when it feels comfortable for you to do so, you can allow your breathing to return to normal. Maybe noticing whether or not your normal breath has become a little longer. And you can start to slowly blink the eyes back open. We're going to start with the top of the body, so we're going to get all of those neck muscles worked out. So just gently allowing one ear to come over to one shoulder. If you're watching this, my right ear has come down to my right shoulder right now. Your eyes are still closed. Just follow along, making sure that you're doing the same thing on each side. So if you're already on the left, don't feel like you have to change. Just feeling all of those muscles down the opposite side of the neck stretching out. Thinking about drawing those shoulders down away from the ears, lengthening those muscles through the neck even more. Being mindful that you're still growing tall and up and out of your seat while you're doing these stretches. You haven't collapsed down into a little bit more of a relaxed pose. Allow that spine to stay nice and stacked and tall. If you notice that you are also kind of starting to crunch the neck down, that's a really good opportunity to think about sitting back up straight, dropping those shoulders down, maybe even picturing if you have a little tennis ball or an apple or something, placing it right here in the crook of your neck so that you're reaching that ear out and over top as opposed to drawing the shoulder and the ear together. When you're ready, you're going to bring the head back up so that the chin is parallel with the ground. And then you're gently going to start to look out over top of that same shoulder. So looking out over the right shoulder if you started with me, the left if you went to the opposite side. Either way, just drawing the chin over towards that shoulder, still keeping it parallel to the ground for now. Seeing if as you breathe out each time and those muscles relax and start to lengthen and stretch out, if you can't look a little bit farther. Keeping the shoulders square to the front, so as you try to look, make sure that that stretch is happening up through the neck and the spinal column towards the top, that you're not starting to twist the shoulders. We'll get there later. Today is all about twists, but for right now, keep those shoulders square and the chin looking out. Taking a nice deep breath in here. As you exhale, just start to dip that chin down towards the shoulder. You should start to feel that stretch down through the back of the neck intensify. If it's too much, back off a little bit. Always being mindful to only go as far as what your body is saying is the right limit for you. Don't push yourself to match exactly what I'm doing. Or if you're practicing at home and you've got a couple people in your house, it's never a competition on the mat. It's always about your own personal practice, and everybody's body changes every day. Some days I wake up super flexible. Other days I wake up, all my muscles are tight and sore. So what I can do one day on the mat is totally different from the next day on the mat. So try to be mindful and allow each practice to just be in the moment. And what your body's telling you it needs, or it's comfortable with right then. Inhaling, lifting the chin back to parallel with the ground before taking it around front. And we'll move to the opposite side. So whichever side you did before, make sure that you're now starting to stretch on the opposite. For me, that's going to be my left side. So I'm going to start to let that left ear travel over, reaching my right ear up towards the ceiling this time. thinking about having that apple or that tennis ball right there in the crook of my neck and my shoulder to keep myself from compressing down. I'm still lengthening through the spine here, growing tall. Breathing here. I'd also like to remind everyone too, I don't use music during the videos for copyright reasons, but that doesn't mean that you have to practice in silence. So always feel free, if you're joining us for these Bullitt County Public Library System yoga classes, please feel free to throw some music on in the background, some of your favorite music. The thing that made me think about that right now is one of my favorite yoga instructors that I used to also attend as part of a community class loved to have Twisted Sister classes. She would always call it Twisted Sister, and she would throw on some really great 80s hairband music, and she would spend an entire class doing twists as well. So this is kind of a tribute to her. But maybe you prefer just nice classical music, maybe some just ambient sound. Maybe like something a little bit more upbeat. Throw some pop music on, maybe some old 80s hairband music. Whatever gets you in the mood to really focus on yourself and enjoy your time on your mat. Allowing the chin to come back up to parallel. We're going to turn and start to look out over that same shoulder now. Making sure that our shoulders are staying square towards the front of our mat. We haven't taken that twist down into the lower part of the spine yet, just up through the neck. Shoulders sinking down with each breath, those muscles starting to get limp and loose, relaxing and releasing, allowing the neck to twist just a little bit farther the longer you sit. As you exhale, maybe you continue to try and look back and see what else you can see behind you or over to the side. Seeing how what comes into focus in your peripheral vision changes as you continue to sit here and you continue to let those muscles finally give into the stretch. Still breathing here. Chin still parallel to the ground. Taking one nice deep breath in. And then starting to allow that chin to dip down towards the ground. Feeling that stretch increase through the backside of the neck. Gently coming back to parallel and then looking back forward. So to start off with, we're going to start to get the legs a little bit twisted. Lots of options here, whatever's comfortable for you. Don't feel like you have to force yourself into a particular position, but I'm going to show you a couple options that you have while we continue to work through twists in the spine, also incorporating the legs. So my comfortable variation of seated is not quite crisscross applesauce, so I don't have my feet crossed up underneath me because that tends to keep my hips a little tighter. So I tend to have my legs kind of spaced, one lying right in front of the other so that my knees can come down towards the ground. Another option that you have here is coming into half lotus. So for most people, coming into full lotus, where the foot comes up and lays in the hip and then the opposite foot crosses over top, is not really comfortable. So a way that you can start to get used to that without going fully into the pose is doing a half variation. So just taking one foot, so whatever your front foot is, just pulling it up and starting to pull it over towards the hip. I normally scoop my opposite foot out so that then my leg can lie on top of it and it keeps my hips even. If you would like to continue trying to go into full lotus, again, being very mindful of your body and whether or not this is a pose that you come into regularly, you would just take this bottom foot out from underneath, start to lift it up and pull it into the opposite hip. Again, not the most comfortable for the majority of practitioners, so please don't feel like you have to go into that. Simply leaving it in half lotus is fine. If this is uncomfortable, even the thought of bending the knees up is not something that feels good to you, go ahead and start to straighten the legs out a little bit and just bring one leg over on top of the other to give yourself a little bit of a cross. And we're going to switch the legs up. So right now I'm letting my right leg be my dominant leg and the one that is on top and coming into the twist. You can continue to move that around. Maybe you're able to get one knee bent, but it doesn't feel good to have both. So maybe you come into just one leg straight and one leg bent up for this pose. If neither of those is comfortable, maybe you just let the legs cross straight out in front of you. If your comfortable seat is normally one where the legs are out in front, just give yourself a little cross. However you want to be sitting right now, we're going to start to bring a twist into the trunk as well. So right leg is on top. And then we're going to be twisting towards the right. So this brings the right thigh up a little higher in most cases. And so that's going to start to allow that thigh to start to press into those internal organs that are down near the bottom. So for me, I'm going to get back into my half lotus position. And then I'm going to start to take my trunk and twist it gently towards the right. So we're not going really deep to start off with because we have incorporated the legs. So maybe you need to get used to that first. So just gently turning to the right. I'm not going to force myself to go very deep. My chest is really aiming kind of out towards that right knee to start off with. So just a very gentle twist. This is also something that you could do sitting in a chair or if you've got a couch. So I don't want anyone to feel like this is not accessible. If you are going to be sitting in a chair on the couch, maybe you've just got the legs crossed at the ankles. Maybe you cross them all the way up. Maybe it feels good to have that foot kind of propped up. Just not good sitting all the way on the ground. And then again, just doing that same gentle twist. Chest is kind of aiming out over top of this right knee. You can use anything that you have near you to give yourself a little bit of resistance. Maybe even taking the left hand, bringing it over to the right knee now. Feeling free to deepen the twist a little bit more if you would like to. One of the ways that I find it easier to deepen a twist is actually take my opposite hand, so whichever hand is on the side that I'm twisting to, I'll take it around and plant it right at the base of my spine, palm down, fingers facing back away from me. And then I use it almost like a kickstand to encourage me to sit up a little taller. And then I start to twist towards that arm rather than leaving the chest facing out. And that's where my focal point is. I let my gaze start to twist, take that twist all the way up through the spine and start to gaze out over top of that same shoulder. So looking out over my right shoulder now. Going a little deeper into the twist. For some people, to get a nice full breath in, twisting very deeply can be uncomfortable. If you notice that your twist has gone so deep that it's caused your breath to get shallow or a little labored, feel free to back out of that twist a little bit. Even kind of pulsing through, so not making it like a washing machine going really quickly, but just as you breathe in, if you need more space to take air in through the lungs and the abdomen, maybe you release a little bit, allow that air to come in, and then as you exhale, you draw those core muscles in, so you've created a little bit more space to go deeper into the twist. We're going to release back out, so wherever you were, start to unwind yourself. We're also going to switch up the twist in the legs. So go ahead and straighten the legs out. If you had them bent up, give them a little shake out. If they've started to go numb, if you had them in a much different position than what they're normally in. And then we're going to bring that same seated pose, however you had the legs, into the opposite side. So this time the right leg is going to be on the bottom wherever you had those legs. Maybe it's just a simple twist out front. Maybe you had the leg drawn up with the bottom right leg outstretched. I'm going to draw that foot up and in, and then take my left foot and bring it up on top this time. So coming into that half lotus if you'd like to do that, or full lotus if that's what you prefer. Just this time the left foot is going to go into the right hip first, and then the right foot will come up on top. And I always encourage everyone to make sure that they're doing the same things on both sides. So don't allow one side of your body to get a certain stretch that you don't bring into the other. So if you did go into anything on the other side, even if it was for just a few seconds, go ahead and attempt to do it on this side as well. Maybe that's intense, so you go ahead and back out. I stayed for the majority of the time in half lotus, so I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just that gentle twist to start off with, so just getting the chest to start to face over towards that knee. You can gently place the hands on the floor wherever's comfortable for you. Breathing here, starting to feel all of those muscles release into the twist. Maybe you notice, depending on where your leg is and where you're feeling this, maybe the thigh and the stomach muscles are starting to touch now, and you're feeling that kind of compression there that we're looking for. As we get into some deeper twists, you'll definitely be feeling that compression in those two muscles and organ groups working together. Growing tall through the spine here. If you'd like to deepen the twist, you can do the same thing we did on the opposite side, using your back hand as kind of a kickstand, planting it down, growing even taller through the spine. Maybe the right hand crosses over and you start to use it for a little resistance against that left leg, allowing you to twist a little farther. Backing off if you need to allow your breathing to remain normal and get that nice deep inhalation as well as exhalation. Feeling the belly soften a little as you breathe in, feeling everything give way for that air to come in, and then starting to draw that core in again as it starts to push the air back up through the lungs and out through the nose or the mouth. Maybe the gaze has started to shift out over that back shoulder now. Back around to the front. We're going to come over onto our hands and knees now. Get a little bit more movement in the spine. So we've had that spine all nice and twisted, coming over onto our hands and knees. We're just going to sit back really quickly on our heels, stretching that spine out, letting it get nice and long. You can make child's pose a very engaged pose if you want, where you're continuing to reach, you're pushing down through the palms of the hands. Forehead can come and rest on the floor so that that neck can lengthen, or even start to relax everything and just take this into more of a resting pose. This is a really great pose that a lot of instructors encourage students to come to at any point during the practice where they're needing to just take a breath, a little breather, and center themselves if they need a little rest before joining us back in whatever pose we were going through. So go ahead and allowing yourself to roll all the way up, sitting on your heels. If you notice that you have any cramping in the feet, sometimes that can be a result of having the toes pointed underneath you, so you can always curl the toes under and then sit back on the heels. So coming into whatever version of this kneeling pose is that you prefer. Also, if you need to not have quite so much pressure on the knees from sitting all the way down, you can take pillows or blankets or something and place right underneath here in between you so that it keeps you sitting a little bit higher. We're going to start to bring a twist into this position as well. So twisting to the left side to start off with, so that you can see what I'm doing a little bit more. We're going to take the hands just to the heart center and then start to twist over towards the left side. So making sure that we still feel the weight evenly if our hips are pressing into our heels, so that we haven't started to lift up and out and come over. We're leaving those hips squared, twisting. Then we're going to reach the right hand down, planting the back side of the hand against the thigh. And then you can either bring the hand to the hip if this is comfortable, or if you'd like to try and open the shoulder up a little bit more, you can start to draw that arm out and reach up behind you. So really feeling that twist all through the trunk. If you'd like to open the shoulder a little bit more, you also have the option of flipping that arm around, drawing it back behind you. You could either plant it at the base of the spine and then use that resistance, or you can even start to pull that hand all the way over, start to work it around, see if you can't grab hold of that opposite hip, and then use that resistance to start to open the shoulder up. Releasing from wherever you were in this twist, coming back to that hands at the heart center, and then shifting back to the front. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite side, so just starting off getting that nice twist in the shoulder area, trying to square them up the opposite of the hips now, and then reaching that left hand down. And then again, hand can be on the hip if that feels comfortable. It can start to reach up towards the ceiling, out behind you. You can allow the gaze to even shift towards those back fingertips. Hand could flip around. Maybe it just comes to rest on the low back. Maybe it starts to reach all the way around. Wherever's comfortable for you. Just really trying to get the shoulders and upper part of the body into a twist here. Feeling if your weight has started to shift over and bringing that back to center. And then slowly starting to unwind back through all of the positions that you tried out, and then back around front. We're going to come out onto our hands and knees again, and to give that spine a little bit of the opposite kind of movement that we just did. So we had it all twisted up. Now we're going to start to bend and flex the spine, just gently moving through some cat-cow. So allowing the tailbone to reach up towards the ceiling, pushing down through the palms of the hands, which are directly below the shoulders here. Reaching up through the neck, letting the chin stay parallel to the ground here. And then starting to round the spine, drawing that middle part of the spine up towards the ceiling like a cat, allowing the gaze to shift back towards the thighs, looking at the thighs while you're here. And then starting to link the breath with these movements. So inhaling as you lift the hip, or you can start to walk. And then exhaling as the spine feel good to you. Don't feel like you have to come into that. That's going to give you a nice stretch down through the psoas. You can take that foot back a little bit farther. Going ahead and just make sure that you get your balance. If it is a little tenuous, trying to balance while you're in a position like this, you can get yourself a chair to put next to you. You can get yourself a little take just a few moments to bring whatever movement would feel good to you. Reach out, touch with, maybe it's rocking the hips back and forth. Maybe it's just whatever position you're in when the floor is underneath you or stretched out. You're going to start to lift the chest in, dropping back, bringing the hands to that heart side, sweeping and then start to look over towards that left knee. So getting that nice twist, bringing some movement into the body here, really quick, getting any last wherever you are, just giving yourself into that nice twist. And then we're going to move into. If this is comfortable, please stay here. You can play around, shoulders up as well as that knee if you'd like to. And there are two different ways that I see you can start to reach that elbow around any kind of yoga side. One is using that resistance, so sometimes the other is that elbow, plant that elbow. These hands are way up here. So start to push down, lift the chest up, bring those hands back to the heart center. And then we're going to inhale the right arm up, start to twist towards the right slightly, and then as we exhale, we're going to thread that right hand through as if you're threading a needle. If you have a practice where you've done it, start to lower the shoulder down towards. You can even take this into a bind. Here I'm demonstrating having the hips high underneath. I have seen people that will sit in the back top hand during this. You're going to reach it down behind and then start to stretch the shoulders. Start to clasp. So you can play around here, decide which one feels best to you. Start to stretch back into that pose.
Just
This might be
allowing
a little
pressure
intense. This isn't for
weight
everyone,
of the body
but I
down
do
on
like
this
to
right
give lots of
shoulder. Start to
options
stretch
for
that
anyone who's
shoulder out,
practicing
open it
with
up.
me if they have an established practice to go ahead and move
Regardless
through some
of
the
where
more
you
intense
are,
variations.
you also have the option of incorporating this top arm in.
Coming back
So you
around
can let it
front.
keep stretching out
We're
over
going to
top.
plant those hands,
You
draw
could
this
walk
knee
it
back around
over
behind
one
us.
way, see if you like that stretch a little bit
child's
more.
pose, so you have that
You
option of
let the
either
arms
knees
start to
together
reach up towards
or
the
toes
ceiling.
together, knees
Same
apart.
thing here that we did
Sit
with
back in
the
the
twist
child's
when we
pose
were
for
kind of
rest.
up in a kneeling position. You can start to flip that hand over, draw it back behind you, reach towards that leg. In this position, it sometimes is a little bit easier to even have those fingertips. I don't know if you can see them on the video, but where they can come down and actually grab that right thigh and start to open up. And unwind the body. Back down. You can bring that left hand down, start to push
making
through,
sure those
lifting
knees
up,
are back underneath
and
the
then
hips.
coming back,
Setting the right foot up,
your
those hands in knees position. Getting those hands lined up right below your
gotten yourself
shoulders
positioned
again.
where you
This
feel
time
well
we're gonna
balanced,
take that making the decision of whether or not you want the knee closer to being under our hips, or if you want to walk your back a little bit through. Go ahead and make that decision, and then lifting up and starting to twist over towards your right side. Hips are high. Do you want to sit back, toes understand if you're starting to get strengthening in the foot? If you do sit back, you have the option of having the knees together. If that feels good, that's going to give you some compression on the core. Start to work those muscles. You also can take the knees wide, the toes together, which is going to give you a little bit more space for the belly to come down, so that you can get even closer to the ground while you do this. Maybe the arms. My personal preference is to have the knees lined up underneath the hips. Maybe and the hips high while I'm doing around. Top hand, but that doesn't mean that that's what feels right in your fingers. So please, sometimes coming back out of it a little bit can let you get a hold of the fingers today, and then you can start to move forward. Come into that variation. Play around with all different variations. Starting to incorporate that top arm, so the right arm this time. Even lifting the knee, walk it back a little farther. Maybe it starts to travel around. Making sure that this front knee is staying over top of the ankle. Flip that hand over, draw it down, and then unwinding. It just comes to a small to the back. Maybe it starts to reach all the way around, grabbing hold of that thigh, using it as a resistance opportunity to open up. Shifting that leg back, sitting back into child's pose. And then unwinding. Going all the way back down, planting that right hand, start to give you some resistance and coming back up to hands and knees. Checking in with the body. And then again, we're going to start to move through that cat-cow motion. Just to unwind the spine, get it moving in a little bit different direction after it's been twisted. Maybe you noticed a difference. Maybe you were able to tell when you came down to child's pose the last time that one side is stretched out a lot more than the other, and now you see that the body's starting to line back up. You've gotten that equal stretch to both sides. So when you're ready, come back up onto your hands and knees. We're going to step the right foot forward, lifting up, pressing off of that knee to help lift ourselves up all the way to standing. And we're going to come into some standing variations of some twists. So to come into our first standing twist, we're going to make sure that we get a nice firm base. You can leave the feet together if you'd like, or you can bring them about hip distance apart. It's whatever makes you feel more firm in your base. Get a nice solid grounded feeling through the feet, through the legs, feeling as if the feet are a rectangle and you can actually feel all four corners of that foot really planted down to the ground. Lift the toes up off the ground, see if you can't feel that arch raise, and then start to lower the toes without lowering that arch in the foot. It's a very unique sensation if you haven't felt that before. So really gripping the mat here. Now we're going to start to sit back. So leaving the knees over top of the ankles if possible, not letting them drift out beyond the toes. So even if they do start to come forward, making sure that we're sitting those hips back behind us as opposed to leaning the knees out over the toes. So sitting down as if you're sitting into a chair. You can reach the arms out straight in front of you. You can take them up overhead. One of the first things that a lot of people tend to do whenever they come down into this is as you're sitting back, you also start to arch the back. You start to get kind of a little duck butt while you're doing this. You don't necessarily want to have the spine rounded and have the butt tucked under, but you don't want to have that huge sway either. So just getting a nice long spine, so thinking about aiming the tailbone down towards the ground and then reaching out. And then from here, we're going to start to incorporate our same twist. So we'll go to the left first. Draw those hands back in towards the heart center. And just gently start to look over towards the left side. As you do this, it can be very common for the hips to start to twist. So bring those back into alignment, make sure the knees are lined up, and just start to gently look out over top. You have the same options here, drawing that elbow down, starting to pull back up, opening the arms, holding here, breathing. This can get intense on the thighs, so always feel free, straighten the legs out, come back into the pose with me if you need to. Don't push yourself or injure yourself, listen to your body. Coming back around to the front, we are going to go ahead and straighten those legs. Let the head hang down, let the arms hang down. Come into a nice forward fold. You can sway here, get a little movement in the body. And then ragdolling up, so stacking the spine one vertebra at a time, starting at the tail. Coming all the way back up. Allowing the chin to stay down longest, roll those shoulders back and down, and then lift the gaze. We're going to come into the opposite twist. So I'm going to turn back facing you, but remembering to do all of those same things that we did before, so keeping the knees back behind the toes, making sure that we're not swaying the back or tucking the bottom under, sitting down into that chair, and then starting to draw the hands to the heart center. Turning to one side. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you draw that elbow down. Start to twist a little bit more. Maybe the arms start to open up. If that's uncomfortable to have the arm all the way over here, but you still would like to get that twist, you can even take the hand and plant it on a block or right down between the legs and start to open up. So whatever feels good to you. Being mindful of that knee creeping back out in front. Taking breaks as you need to. And then drawing the hands back to the heart center. Coming back around front. Straightening those legs, letting those thighs have a nice break. Hanging down. And then ragdolling all the way back up. Knowing that you can do this just the same using a chair or the couch. So drawing yourself all the way up towards the front. If you're just wanting to focus on the twist, maybe the thighs aren't ready for that kind of intense workout. It can be a little bit much on the thighs for sure. So maybe you just want to take this into a seated posture. Please feel free to join me even if you did this standing. This can be a nice way to get a little bit more of the twist if you're not focused so much on staying upright and balancing. So again, kind of leaning out over top. Feet are hip distance apart. Knees directly over the ankles. We're going to go to the left to start off with. So leaning forward, draw those hands up. Start to twist. Maybe the elbow comes down. Maybe start to open the arms. You'll notice, you probably saw me do it. Very easy to go knock knees sitting here. So keep those thighs still working. Not as much to support yourself, but definitely keep yourself aligned. You could reach out, maybe you have a stack of books right here, or a block. Maybe leaning forward is intense. You still want the twist in this position, so just start to reach over to one side, grab hold of the chair behind you, and start to twist. You can still get that same feeling, resistance. Give that thigh a little bit of a workout as you start to press out against the arm and the arm presses back in. And coming back around to center. We're going to switch over to the opposite side. So lining up, making sure those knees stay stationary. Maybe you lean out over top. Maybe you plant that elbow. Start to open up. Mindful of the knees not going knock-kneed, and start to use that resistance to work those thigh muscles. Still a great thigh workout, even if you're not standing. You can plant that hand down between. Maybe you come up. You just grab hold of the chair for the twist. Still using that resistance. And then releasing, we're going to come all the way back around front. Go ahead and come back up to standing. If you have a chair, move that out of your way. Or if you were using the chair, you can stay here because you also have the opportunity of doing this just with the legs outstretched this time. We're going to come into a nice wide-legged stand for a forward fold. Inhaling the arms all the way up. We're going to exhale, hinging at the hips, swan diving forward, and then bringing the hands all the way down in front. Nice little down dog here. And then start to plant the hands down on the ground. From here, you can start to lower down, reaching the top of the head towards the ground if that's comfortable. And then we're going to plant the right hand down, pushing up, allowing it to be dead center of the body. And then we're going to take the left arm and start to draw it up across the chest, reaching towards the ceiling. Holding here for a couple of breaths. Inhaling, reaching as far as you can. And as we exhale, you've got a couple options. You can just stop here in the middle, come back into a nice forward fold, or you can switch the hands up. So leaving the right hand down the center, this time the left hand is going to thread through like we did earlier and reach over towards that right ankle. If you fully want to come into the twist and you're comfortable letting go of the ground, you can start to draw that arm up, reaching the right fingertips towards the ceiling this time. Lowering that arm back down. Pressing down, we're just going to come up, both hands planted on the ground in this forward fold, nice flat back here. And then start to lower back down once you're in center. Planting the left hand down in the center now, pushing up through that hand as the right arm starts to come back up towards the ceiling, lifting those fingertips high, shifting the gaze towards those fingertips. If this is too intense on the neck, you can always let the gaze shift back down towards the floor. If this is too intense on the wrist, you can always come up into a fist. Reaching here, inhaling, and then exhale, start to sweep the hand down. Maybe it stops here, maybe it keeps reaching through to come to that left ankle to grasp hold of. Maybe you stay here. Maybe the left fingertips start to travel up towards the ceiling. Drawing the right hand back out over to line up both hands beneath the shoulders, now pushing up, nice flat back. Inhaling here, exhale, lower down. We're going to come down onto the floor now. One of the easiest, most gentlest ways to do that is to simply take one of the feet and shift it over behind the other. Come down onto the ground. So we're going to try something fun for this last little twist that we're going to do here on the ground. And please feel free to back out. Don't feel like you have to do this, but I did want to give you the option. We did this in one of my recent classes that I took as a student, and I thought it was very fun. So we're going to go ahead and start with the legs outstretched. And then we're going to bring the right foot up. And if it's comfortable for you to stay here, please stay here. Anytime I take you a little bit farther, always please feel free to back out and stay in whatever variation felt right for your body. If it feels good, leave it here. We're going to be twisting towards this side. You're going to have that compression with the leg here just the same, so please come into whichever variation feels right to you. If you'd like to go a little bit farther, we're going to take the foot across the body. And you can still get that twist reaching out over here. A little bit farther with the legs, you can actually take that foot, draw it all the way in towards the opposite side. So this right foot is up towards the thigh of the left leg, left foot is back towards the right hip. And then we're going to start to hug the body, reaching that arm around. You can use this hand as that little kickstand that we used earlier today. You can start to take the arm across and twist. If you want to get really crazy, you can even take this hand, start to reach it around, reach the opposite fingers. So all different kinds of variations that you can do here. But don't feel like you have to push yourself into anything. And then the fun part of this that you can feel free to try, but don't feel like you have to do this. What you do is whichever side you were twisting towards, you'll come and plant your hands on the opposite side. And what you're going to do is twist without ever having to get up and move the feet, and you're going to come into the opposite side. So you're going to plant the hands on this side, start to lift the hips, push up, turn around, leaving those feet, just letting them kind of twist on the ground, and then you will notice that you wind up in the opposite side. So if you want to back that up and try it again, please feel free to do so. I just thought that was a cute little transition that we did in my recent class that I took as a student, so I wanted to share it with you guys. But once you find yourself on this opposite side, please feel free to go ahead and come into the twist. If you did not have the legs all the way bound, I'm going to go through just how you would get yourself into this side again if you weren't doing the little twist in between. Legs outstretched, this time left foot is going to come up. Maybe it just stays on this side. Maybe it crosses over the body. Maybe you start to pull this foot in. Once you got yourself in whatever position you'd like to have the legs in, we're going to start to twist towards the left this time. Hugging the leg into the body. Left hand can be used as a little kickstand. You can start to reach that arm out around. Maybe you get all crazy trying to play around with different binds. It's always fun to push yourself and try new things while still being very mindful of what your body needs, what your body is telling you it's not ready to try. Always coming back to that place of no judgment, giving yourself some grace. Maybe today is just a relaxing day. It's not a day that you're wanting to try new things, and that's totally okay. When this feels complete to you, go ahead and unwind the body. Allow yourself to twist around, getting long ways on your mat so that you can roll down onto your back. Drawing the knees up into the chest, hugging them. Starting to roll those knees around in a circle. And then drawing the knees up over top of the hips. With the legs outstretched, start to flex those feet. Cross the right leg over top of the left. And draw those arms out to the side to help balance you. You can bring them into field goal or just outstretch. You can even flip the palms over. Start to let the legs drift over to the left side. If the cross is too intense, please feel free to uncross the legs here. And you can leave those ankles bound if you'd like. It just makes this a little bit more of an engaged twist and keeps the muscles a little bit more engaged. Or you can loosen up and just allow the legs to lie however they fall. going to start to straighten out the bottom leg. So if you've got the feet crossed, go ahead and release those. Take the bottom leg, stretch it out, and then start to draw that leg down across. Maybe the gaze starts to shift out over top of the right fingertips now, taking that twist from all the way down at the base of the spine up through the crown of the head. And then releasing on back over onto your back, drawing those knees up into the chest, resettling the hips, squaring them up, hugging them in. And then drawing those knees out, feeling the core muscles engage as the legs start to get out away from the body. Cross the left leg over top of the right. If you want this to be a little bit more intense than just the feet being crossed, you can always cross the legs completely. You can even take them all the way into eagle with the legs, and then start to let them drift out over towards the right side this time. So however you have the legs, if they're all the way bound in eagle, if you liked how that felt and you want to go back and try that on the other side, please feel free to do so. Or maybe you just come all the way back to just the ankles being crossed. Maybe it's a nice relaxing time for you and nothing is engaged. You just have the left foot crossed out over top of the right, but the ankle's not hooked. The body's relaxing into the twist. Right leg could start to stretch out now beneath you. Maybe bring that right hand up on top of the leg to help pull the twist a little deeper. Gaze can shift out over top of the left fingertips this time. And then unwinding, coming back to center, hugging those legs in one last time. And then stretching out. Finding yourself in the most comfortable Shavasana or final resting pose that you would like to do. If you've been following along with me, we've done lots of different variations. You can come into traditional corpse pose, or you could come into lying on your belly position, or come into a supported Buddha, or maybe you have a towel rolled up underneath the shoulders. Maybe one rolled up underneath the knees to take some pressure off the low back. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Just allowing yourself to, once again, draw the awareness back to your breath. Walking the shoulders down away from the ears. Allowing all of the muscles to relax and release and sink down into the mat. Feeling a wave of relaxation washing out across the body from the top of the head, all the way down to the tips of your toes. Giving yourself at least 10 minutes here. Time to really sink in. rotating the wrists and ankles, reaching out, up, overhead, hugging those knees into the body, rolling over to your favorite side to gently push back up. Meet me in a seated position. Taking the arms out wide, inhaling the hands up overhead, exhaling the hands down through the heart center. And as always, the light in me recognizes the light in each of you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today for this twisted practice. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to always back up through the videos if you find anything that you didn't try the first time, but you did try the second time, to make sure that you get a nice even practice on both sides of the body. I would love to hear from you all, so please comment on the videos, send in feedback to their Facebook page or their YouTube channel. Let me know what it is that you want to see. What parts of the body are you wanting to work on? If you come to my live classes, is there something that you're missing that I've done that hasn't been incorporated recently? Make sure that you're following the Bullitt County Public Library's Facebook page, their YouTube channel. Check out their webpage. I am so excited that they are able to do the curbside pickup once again, and how exciting is it to think about actually getting to come back in and enjoy our libraries? That's all coming soon. But they're also still bringing you these wonderful virtual programs, so be sure to stay up to date by checking in on all of those sites and pages, following along. Be sure to check in on Tuesday for the Teach a Trick with Aaron Heart Magic. And I will find you back here on your mat when you join me once again next week. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you soon. Bye.